Okay, what's my line?
The only line I see here on the script is get options based on your budget with the name your price tool from Progressive.
Oh man, that's a tongue twister, huh? I'm sorry, I'm gonna need a few more minutes. Bulbous Walrus, the Bulbous Walrus.
The name your price tool, only from Progressive.
The owl ran afoul of the comatose coxswain.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Place humans with, and
okay, what's my line?
that's not what it's about.
The only
It's
line I
about
see
introducing
here
a
on the
new
script
race
is get
to our
options based
planet.
on your budget
We
with the
have
name your
5
price tool
races
from
now.
Progressive.
Oh,
White,
man,
black,
that's a tongue twister, huh? I'm
yellow,
sorry, I'm gonna need a few more
red,
minutes.
and brown.
Bulbous Walrus, the Bulbous Walrus.
So,
The name your price tool,
it's just
only from
another
Progressive.
race that
The
they're
owl
trying
ran
to
afoul of
place
the comatose
into,
coxswain.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage
onto
match
her.
limited by state law.
But they're very amazing little, I mean,
Okay, what's my line?
little kids.
The
It's
only
about,
line I
you
see
can't
here on
not
the
fall in
script
love
is
with
get
them,
options based on
even
your
though
budget
you
with the
don't
name your
spend
price
time
tool
with
from
them.
Progressive.
Oh,
White,
man,
black,
that's a tongue twister, huh?
Yeah, I know the
yellow,
hopper thing's always
red,
something
and
we
brown.
follow really closely.
The Bulbous
Actually, we've had it so much lately.
Just another race.
Yeah, Joe, when you, it's so great that you're bringing these these stories onto your show, because there's so many people out there. When you listen, for example, to the politicians now, the candidate thing, it's almost ridiculous conversations because they haven't yet been educated about the things like what Lisa's talking about and what Paola's written about and you've produced on your show. And yet it's such a strong reality that when someone like me, I'm a corporate, well, I'm an educator by background and a child psychologist and all of that, but I fell into the corporate complex positions. And it's been rather weird for somebody like me to come out, but I could come out with my stories, and there's so many more people that have them because of the credibility of people like Lisa and Paola and the other speakers and your guests, that I hope somehow we can refer people to shows like yours and to this conference, because it's such an education and it's grounded. It's based on truth and reality that it's life-changing, and it's actually what we all need to hear about on this planet, because it's the information that's pivotal at our time in the course of history. If we keep going the way we are, we know the consequences are pretty dire. But as we bring this truth out to the world, and if we can get it into some of these candidates and leaders' hands, I'm doing it on the international level, but we would do it in this country. It's just fantastic to hear your stories, Lisa, and you present it so well.
Well, thank you. And at the conference, I plan to include the pictures of the children, pictures of all of the beings that we have come in contact with, that we have pictures of, and there are plenty of them. So I really hope that'll encourage you to come. Here's the stories, to see the pictures.
The other thing that's really interesting, with your story, Lisa, is that it's ongoing, and there's some positive messages that have come through. I mean, apart from the fact that Stan has all these equations for anti-gravity, which some of the top physicists have looked at, and he's gotten these equations from he's been downloaded like that, which is real interesting. This is part of that story. Also, your son was involved, wasn't he, with some of these equations?
Well, when he was 8 years old, and it's kind of a hard story for me, but he wrote an equation on his wall in the middle of the night. But what had happened, Stan woke me up, and he said, "I think they took Jake." And instead of panicking, it's like, okay, you go check and make sure he's still there. And he came back and said he's there, but he's like staring at me. Well, the next morning, I just assumed everything was fine. Jake was in his bed. Next morning, I found the equations, just totally freaked out. I was angry. I was, every emotion you could imagine was directed at Stan for bringing that into my family. And he felt guilty about it. But what I came to realize was that the reason they involved my son was because Stan was fighting against doing what he had to do, and that was tell his story. And that's all his responsibility is to tell his story. And the reason they gave him the equations is to validate that it happened for him and for other people, because Stan, he doesn't make us, keep it a secret. He cannot do long division, let alone write a huge equation that Claude Swanson, who is a physicist, is still struggling to figure out.
Wow.
I mean, it's a lot of it is validation for Stan, and using my son or my daughters to get him to move forward with what he needs to do is just part of what they did, you know.
We have Sam listed on our contactee groups as a communicator. That's what he's listed at, along with Marion Delicata, Near Osby, and a few others. Contactees play vastly different roles for different reasons and different stuff. He's definitely, though. I've talked to him enough times now that when we, because we have induction criteria and all kind of stuff in the organization now, and we definitely have him listed as a communicator, which is, some contactees, that's what they're driven to do. They're driven to tell a story and tell what they know and tell what they've been told. A lot of them do it, and then, frankly, though, the bad part is, when y'all were talking about abductees earlier, for me, abductee is simply a contactee that, technically they're a contactee. That's what an abductee is to me. And it's not that, see, I got to be honest about this while I'm talking about this. For us, it's not a matter of either good, bad, or indifferent experiences. We realize from childhood these things are happening. The experiences of childhood are not there. Puberty can be a little taxing. When you get your 30s, 40s, 50s, it's a much different kind of experience. It's not what people would call classic abduction. It's not what it is. It's a whole entirely different thing. Usually they're letting you learn and experience it. For the people who can understand it, they let them get more involved. For the people who aren't fearful and freaking out about it every time they bring them on board a ship or in a building, they let them understand one. They let them retain more memory that way. It's interesting. There's a bunch of them out there. There's more than most people realize. I mean, I just did a series with 20 contactees just a couple of months back, and it's amazing. Stan was one of them, matter of fact. He was on the show.
And Joe, how many of those contactees did you ask, have you ever had an extraterrestrial look in your window?
Actually, that comes up more frequent than you would. I don't. Maybe because of that picture with Stan. That's what I'm saying. But I mean, the questions come up more frequently than you would think, because and I really do think it has something to do with that photo that Stan had released a while back. And I really do think that's what it has to do with, or at least why people started asking it. Because I ask all the time, have you actually seen the ETs in your room, in your house, in your yard, in your car, on the street? Because it's something we're curious about. Matter of fact, it's in even some questionnaires we have. That's one of the questions listed in there. Because we're curious, because for a real contactee, someone who's aware, fully aware that they are being contacted, they understand some of what's going on, they usually do retain memories of where they're contacted. And a lot of times there's trigger memories like a sighting. They'll have a sighting, and all of a sudden they'll realize, oh no, there was a gray standing by the car, there was a gray here or a gray there, or there's this type of alien or that type of alien nearby. And it's a really weird thing to watch unfold. It's a really thing. On an average week, we talk to a lot of contactees these days, and it's a really weird thing to watch unfold. And frankly, I know a lot more than I did when I got involved in this, but I still got a lot to learn about. I got to tell y'all. And I like listening to Stan, because Stan's become sure of himself, or I should say, he's more comfortable with himself when he talks about this, and that's a big plus, because it's a little unnerving when you have to incorporate this into your full-time life.
Yeah.
That was not a photo, too. We got to make clear that was a frame of a movie.
Yeah, well, actually, that's very true. That's very true.
He has two incredible films that were taken, and I don't know, Lisa, does he show them both? He does conferences, I think he does.
I know he does Boo, the one in the window. He's been holding off on the one we call Grandpa Gray.
Yeah.
Because it's going to, they're going to use it in the documentary.
Yeah, because they're doing a documentary, but I've seen the second one, and the second one's unbelievable. He's so cute, though, but it's just that it's scary for Stan. I mean, you can see Stan's reaction after he's filmed. But, there is a documentary they're going to make, or they did make on the Stan Romanek case. You might want to mention that.
Yeah. It's actually going to be, it's going to be called the Stan Romanek story. And I have a lot of feedback. It's freaking
Yes, I know. I'm getting that myself. That's kind of weird. All of a sudden, just out of the blue, we started getting feedback. So, ladies and gentlemen, you know what? We're going to take an impromptu break. We're about 10 minutes before our break. So I want everyone to please stay tuned to UFO Undercover. We'll be back in about 8 to 10 minutes.
listening to UFO Undercover with your host, Joe Montaldo, right here on the Paranormal Radio Network.
Hello, everyone. Trish Sheridan, host of A Global Focus. Come join us each Friday evening at A Global Focus's new time, 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern. Come join the discussion.
Open your mind to life streams. We always must be every Saturday at 11 p.m. Insertmaiden.com, Paranormal Radio Network. J. Thomas Watson.
Hi, this is Rob Simone, and I'm going to tell you about my brand new show here on the Paranormal Radio Network. Each week, I bring you the most interesting people on the planet, the most in-depth discussions, and the most controversial issues. We go where no talk show dares to go. Join me every week for the Rob Simone Talk Show here on the Paranormal Radio Network.
Tune in to UFO Undercover, Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, with your host, Joe Montaldo, right here on the Paranormal Radio Network.
Hi, I'm psychic comedian Chris George. And I'm Stephanie Benetti. Psychic comedian. Are you sure about that, Chris? It's more like psychic extra large. Yeah, real funny, Benetti. But then again, being my girlfriend, you would know. Together, we are Second Sight NYC, a parapsychic radio show based out of New York City. Join us each week as we journey into the unknown. Let's cross the threshold of reality together. We take a fun and no-nonsense approach to our show, and we love to interact with our audience. Each week, you can expect a great guest, interesting topics, and strong opinions by myself and Stephanie. As well as rapid readings, psychic dream interpretation, and the gemstone of the week. And don't ask us some questions that you don't want an answer to. Give us 2 hours of your time to inform, enlighten, and entertain you. Let the journey join us.
Hey, hi there. Got your attention? I'm Gia Scott, and I was curious what you were doing from 7 to 9 p.m. Central Time on Tuesdays. See, I host this really interesting little radio program that airs live then, and we bring in all sorts of guests, authors, everything in between. It's paranormal and guaranteed to make you go, My guest list is always up at www.giascott.com, and do tune in to the Dawn of Shades from 7 to 9 p.m. on Tuesdays.
Light up your night with the Kevin Smith Show. Hi, this is Kevin Smith. Join me Monday through Friday right here on the Paranormal Radio Network.
I had enough. Well, you drove out there into the middle of nowhere and had some sort of loud verbal display challenging ET in general out in the middle of nowhere?
That's what I was doing. I actually had a pistol in my hand at the time. I was really kicked off. When I was having this fit, I was waving the gun in the air, okay, and I had this fit. And at this moment, I said, okay.
He was a Louisiana man named Montaldo. Folks around called him Six Gun Joe. Worked with Icar, don't you know, investigating out for a drive with a gal one night. They stopped to check out the reports of the site. But an alien lit right there on the ground. The men still throwing his weight around. Now, old Six Gun didn't take too kindly to that thing. Just got Vaseline. You know. Well, Six Gun looked that critter right in the eye and said, any last wish? especially before you die, yo. Reach for his gun, quick as a twitch, so fill your club, you son of a bitch. Now a legend spread across the land about this pistol waving man. But if you're from space or from Earth below, you don't give no fuck. 6 Joe.
Welcome to UFO Undercover with your host, Joe Montaldo.
Okay, what was that? All right, there we go. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to UFO Undercover. I am your host, Joe Montaldo. Sorry about that little delay when we started out there. I was fiddling with something. I should have been talking. Y'all should be familiar with the guest tonight. I know we cut off a little earlier, but we were getting some weird feedback. I don't know if y'all could hear it, but we could definitely hear it, so we just wanted to clear up the audio. All three of these ladies do have a lot to say, and I want to make sure that everybody gets to hear them cleanly and plainly in what we're discussing. Tonight's guest is Lisa Romanek, Dr. Carolyn Roslyn, and Paola Harris, and you shouldn't be familiar with all of them. Lisa hasn't actually been here with us to talk about any experience she's had, but she's here to talk about this tonight and some other stuff. And I'm sure most of y'all are familiar with her husband, Stan Romanek, as well. So this should give you an idea where the topic matter is going to go. Everybody here works in this field. Nobody here, though, and I'm talking about a forest, would be considered ufologist. So to the person who sent me that question, no. Paula's definitely not a ufologist. Carol's definitely not a ufologist. And Lisa is definitely not a ufologist, and neither am myself. You got to call me anything, contact you, research, or what have you. But let's leave the ufologist word out of there. I mean, do any of y'all three? I hate to be speaking for y'all, but I just assume, which is a bad thing to do, that y'all are not ufologists.
Well, no.
You have to define what ufologist is, because the journalistic work I do is in the UFO field. So often, like in Europe, they will define me as a ufologist, in Europe especially. Yeah,
it's a weird thing. And, I'm glad you said that about Europe, because I wanted to ask you about this before we get on this other stuff. It's, we've accumulated a lot of European directors. As a matter of fact, Farrah's on board with us as one of our directors now, but we have several, Neil Good, quite a few other directors in the UK and France and Germany, a few other places. And, when I first got into this field, and we're talking 27, 28 years ago, I was on the assumption that Europe was a lot more open about ufology than the United States was. But in recent dealings, and I'm talking about in the last 10 years, it doesn't seem to be true. Now, am I just missing something, Paul? Because I know you're over there way more, so you should really have a better grasp on this than I did. I'm not curious because... Go ahead.
I lived in Italy for 15 years, and Europe is a lot more open to it, and because they're a lot more open to it because the ridicule or laughing factor isn't there, because they don't wear T-shirts or walk around with tinfoil on their head, and they don't have magnets that they sell and so forth. Our conferences, and I've spoken in Switzerland, Italy, France, Spain, Belgium, and I've spoken in all these places. Nobody was laughing, and it was filled with people. And basically, they're curious. They want to know. A lot of people in the audience are not there to have a good time. They're basically, what's there is college professors, astronomers, scientists who want the real facts. And I do think it's a lot more open. At least when I was living there, they would report it on the 6 o'clock news all the time. And here, I'm looking at the 6 o'clock news, and I don't get anything. I mean, there's no way that they report anything here in the United States.
And if they do, they're
in the United States, there's also a huge vested interest in keeping this a secret. And we all live under this canopy of lies and behind all these veils of secrecy, because the game has always been to seize the high ground. And the high ground is now space. And that's where the weaponization of space is going, and that's why we're trying to get a ban on space-based weapons. But one of the reasons, as Bernard von Braun warned us about years ago, within a list of wars that he said were going to happen, now all of them, except the last card, have happened. So that kind of proved that he was in the strategy meeting. So I think that's why in the U.S. and perhaps among the allies, there is huge intention to keep this unofficially acknowledged. So I'm wondering, are you in touch with the government people in different countries, Paola? And do you see that opening up more and more, the disclosure, official acknowledgement of the disclosure?
Absolutely. The Italian Air Force, if you look at their website, they have a section on UFOs. It says unidentified flying objects in the Italian Air Force website. Also, when Colonel Corso was there, when I brought Colonel Corso to Italy, to the Republic of San Marino, what they did, they all signed a paper for a United Nations resolution. And I know that other United Nations resolutions, are in the works. The EU is trying to look into it. Now, the way they're doing this, though, is they're not saying they're aliens. They're just looking at the national security issues around having these craft in airspace. Now, Great Britain with the release of their MOD files, France with the Cometa report is asking America what they know. That's at the end of the Cometa report. Other countries just want to know, and because it's a national security issue for them. And the only thing, Joe, the reason why you really look at it that way is that I don't think it's funny. I don't think it's something that people should be laughing at. I think it's something that should be taken seriously. And here it's a big party. I mean, often I go to several places and it's not only a big party, it's a circus. And so people walk by, regular business people, they look over at us. They're having a conference or something and they're laughing. And I'm thinking they shouldn't be doing that. It should be in a university setting. It should be a serious dialogue, and that's why I call this conference a symposium instead of a conference, because I think everybody should talk about it. It should be fun. It should be something that we all have something to say and that we're looking at research.
You know what I found really interesting along that line that you're talking about, Paola? I've been working with Japan, with Dr. Sakurako Tanaka and Kosi Akata, some experts there in different fields from the indigenous to the technical fields related to this issue. And they are so open to this issue that they want to get the ban on space-based weapons, this treaty, signed really fast because they see it seriously in the form of not just security, although they see Japan going for, can you believe it, upgraded nukes and missile defense, more weapons, which is just ridiculous for Japan, but because they see that when this information gets released, so do the budgets and the brains that otherwise are being applied to these very dangerous and polluting technologies. It's the old war mindset, the fear-based, as you were mentioning, that fear-based mindset that doesn't exist in the cosmos. I mean, the signs of it are in the space station, and people that used to be adversaries are just having a great time in outer space, a really great time. And so this brings in the disclosure that you're talking about happening in the different parts of the world, I think is what's going to change the whole game. It's all based on a very peaceful outlook. It's not based on the way we humans have been raised to fear or look at others who don't look like us and act like us as being enemies, because they're not in space. And really, we're not. We get into the heart and soul of the truth of who we really are in these bodies on this planet and the universes.
Absolutely.
I love what Stan said the very first time I met him with you, Lisa, in the International UFO Congress in Phoenix a year ago, November, in 2011, I guess it was. I remember, because I had never met you guys before, I'd never been to one of these conferences before, and he said, yes, I was really, really afraid at the beginning, but then I learned that there was nothing to be afraid of. And I thought that was such a huge bottom line to this issue, and why the rest of the world who are not so afraid and are more fed up with wars and that mission that we've been on in the U.S. are more open to it. That's what I'm seeing happen anyway, and especially with this work in Japan, it's been such an awakening to see them coming forward with, yes, we want to get this information out.
Well, I wish somebody would disclose, because I'd get a paid job then. I wouldn't have to spend my own money. Hey, I'm Paula, you get a paid job too, I'm sure.
The thing is, yeah, and as far as consulting, I mean, I do that anyway, but it's like, what do you mean by disclose? I think everybody's disclosing. It can't, Obama's job, and I don't think that he has enough on his plate. I'm sure that the government, by the way, half of those guys don't know. Half of the guys have no idea what's going on. So I don't know if we're going to look for an official anything. Anybody who does any work in this field and has studied and read knows that it's real. I think disclosure is happening every day. I mean, just come to the conference, and the people that are involved and have been involved, they're disclosing, but they're not disclosing on radio and television and all that because we're in a transitory period. And one of the things I always say to people, I don't think ufology is religion. I mean, you don't have to. In other words, you don't have to believe. I can't. There's members of my family that will not talk about this, and I'm not going to force it on them. I just can't.
Well, no,
You'll be disowned like I was.
Well, you can't. See, my family is weird. They don't really get involved in it, even though I talk about contactees coming from family lines. It makes them a little nervous. But they're willing to listen and not judge, which is I'm really lucky there. Whether they disagree, they're not going to argue with me about it, so that's fine. So if they don't like it, they'll just turn off the radio or turn off the internet. They won't have to listen, which is fine. And I prefer it. And I tell people all the time, if you're going to bitch, at least offer a solution. So most people can't, so I said, tell them shut up. And by the way, Paul, I agree with you. I mean, I've been griping about more professional conferences for 15 years, which has gotten me in trouble many times at conferences, by the way. And frankly, I've been saying the only way disclosure is going to happen is by the people. It's the only way it's going to ever happen. Forced disclosure from the people. Eventually, there'll be enough.
Or ETs, though, Joe. I mean,
ETs, that's true.
Yeah, ETs. I mean, if you have a mass sighting over some major airport and there's like 10 UFOs and they're just sitting there and they're not shot down, which is what we do.
Well, here's one for y'all. I've been having several, in the last 3 years, we've had probably 150, 200 contactees come in and say, the way the ETs, when they finally will disclose, isn't going to be with ships or anything else. All of a sudden, one day, they'll just be standing on the street next to us. They'll beam, or I say beam, but they'll just drop down probably several thousand at one time. And they will be just standing there looking at it. There won't be no denying it, though. They'll be like, okay, that's definitely an alien. There's not going to be any arguing that fact. And they'll probably leave right away, too, just enough to let everybody know. But by then, I think by the time that happens, I think so much of this will have got out into the general population that it won't be as shocking as everybody thinks it's going to be. So, I'm still waiting. I mean, I got a little while left on the planet, so I'm not in that big of a hurry. And I just know the government's not going to disclose because of the simple amount of money they make off of this and the amount of power they get to keep. Every time I turn around, they're introducing some new weapon or some new craft. Just yesterday, I see now we've got bullets that can go a mile and follow you and go around corners and stuff. I'm thinking, okay, this is something right out of one of these sci-fi movies.
And where do they get in the psychotronic weapons, the mind control, that if they put in geosynchronous orbit 22,300 and some miles above the Earth in 3 spots, it hits the footprint of the entire planet.
Well, Cal, I'm with you. I don't think they should be weapons. Not. Damn it. Sorry, I couldn't spit that out. The weaponization of space, I think, is just a bad thing to start off with. It should never be allowed. And then the other day I heard Newt talking about, let's put a base on the moon. He said a colony. I'm thinking, we're going to put a colony on the moon. We'll have named to every country on the planet after that. Yeah. I'm like, there needs to be some kind of formal consensus on this planet before we start going.
Well, that's what we wrote in the treaty. If you the treaty really does have the consensus in it. I'm told by a lot of people around the world now that I've heard of since we did your show a few months ago, they've said that they think more than 50% of the countries will sign that treaty quickly. We're working on it very slowly and deliberately and, being very careful to try to make it relevant to each country leader, to the self-interests of that leader and the country. And it's not so easy because it's a transitionary thought process like what you're describing that they have to get into. It's a whole new way of thinking and seeing how the economy can work, and not based on this weapons program that you're talking about. That's what it's been based on all those years.
Well, I think you're going to get a little help here, Carol. I think this last recession for the planet, not just for the United States, taught the world that we're much more closely related than we thought we were. We're all really tied together, and what affects one affects everybody else. And I think for the first time in this planet's history, with 7 billion people on it, 5 billion of them have now realized, you know what, we are all kind of tied together, and we need to start getting along. So I know we're not perfect, we get along, and I don't even want to try to get into that, but it does look like, you know, because of these kind of things, that we might actually be moving in the right direction for a change.
Yeah, I became even more aware of it in working with Japan, because you see the radiation cloud. I mean, and now it's happening in different parts of the country. They're afraid of one right in Chicago. I mean, it's just happening everywhere. There were 29 Chernobyl-like accidents that took place in Russia. And so there's no boundary anymore. There are man-made boundaries, but the geographical one in the air, in space, just does not exist. So you're right. I think we're, by default, almost coming together in a more spiritual way, more connected, aware way.
Well, we're learning we all need each other. I mean, if you look at Europe, they're getting oil from Russia now, which was something you would have never thought of before. They're getting, you know, they're importing from China and all countries that we would have never dealt with before. So yeah, I mean, I think it's looking good. And with all countries like, you know, China and Japan both have a big interest in UFOs, and even Russia's expressed some interest over the last few years about coming out more with more stuff. So I think the United States is going to start getting more pressure, but I don't know if it's going to matter as far as our politics are concerned. You know, our politicians seem to live in a land of their own somewhere, so they're not even on the same planet with the rest of us.
Yeah, and I honestly don't think that they can handle this issue. And, you know, I wouldn't want anybody that didn't know anything about anything making judgments about it either, because one of the things I believe in, and Carol and I are both educators, is that they have to be educated. They have to know. It didn't happen yesterday. It's not an American phenomenon. It may have happened in our early history on the planet. I mean, look at ancient history. Look at the Egyptians. Look at the Sumerians. Look at just the whole entire demographics of the planet. Look at the Renaissance art that has UFOs in it. I mean, so this isn't something that happened yesterday. This is something that's been around for a long time that we need to look at intelligently and see how we fit into it.
You know, that's a great talking point to give to a presidential candidate. Maybe we could start collecting talking points. If anybody wants to send me some talking points for candidates to spacetreaty@gmail.com, I'll take the talking points. And I think we ought to put a package together, because even what all of you have been talking about on the show are educational pieces. You're right, Paola.
Well, it has to be that way. I wouldn't want decisions where I have no idea what's going on. It would be really scary, because it would come out of fear. I mean, it totally come out of fear, and if whatever is there has been around for eons, has been around for centuries, then and never really destroyed this planet or anything, but has watched the planet. I love Renato Longato. He's one of my favorite ufologists. He says that they are cosmic anthropologists, which I believe that the cosmic cultures or the aliens are probably watching. They're cosmic anthropologists, and you know, it's really interesting to know that we're, you know, they interact, because with Lisa and Stan and so forth, they've chosen to interact. With me, no. With me, nothing. They just, you know, say back with you. But with a lot of other situations, they are watching. They're watching everybody.
And there are a lot of us out there that haven't. I've had an experience, a very profound one, actually several, and I've given hints to it. I haven't really talked about it in great detail yet. I'm kind of waiting for the right moment, and I think maybe it's the wrong moment for now, because I want to get a treaty signed, and it's looking crazy enough to be a woman wearing red with curly hair. You know, it's just you know, there's got to be a way to make this really credible. And I think now what we're saying is that the timing is right, and we really are in grave danger on the planet from a number of possible man-made or natural disasters that I don't want to get into, and that energy. But if we could present the benefits that would exist, and that's one of the things I'm working on, is a vision of the benefits from what we will learn from, what we've already learned from these many, many visitations that have gone on forever. Like you said, this isn't a new phenomenon at all. It's just new in the consciousness of people. I think people will start to see that that it's a much more in our interest to transform the whole mentality of being afraid of each other, hating each other, lies, accepting the lies, that it's better for us to start applying what we can learn to our survival, to the human needs of the environment, new energy sources. And we're going to get all that from the cosmos cultures.
Well, I'm hoping they give me some. I'm just teasing. I'm just teasing. They, matter of fact, for the listening audience, if you really want to understand more about the actual picture of this and how worldwide this is, there's a gentleman named Larry Hatch. You can go to his database. It's just type in Larry Hatch UFO and his database will come up. It documents every sighting on the planet from 1944 until present day. And not only that, you can actually overlap the sightings and see as cities and areas grow how many more sightings there are in particular places. By around 1980, the United States is completely covered. When you get to 2005, you can't even see any spaces on the United States. That's how many actual sightings are. But it's not just here. It's the worldwide thing, and you can watch. You can even see when you watch the sightings that they follow shipping lanes, because you can actually see the sightings along the lanes crossing between Europe and the United States, and the Pacific. It's a very interesting place to go hang out, and it's a really, really good database. And I was so happy to see you put it back up. And it really would drive the point home for anybody who really wants to see how worldwide this truly is. There's not a country on the planet that doesn't have sightings, not one. And as far as I know, even countries like Iran, who would have been quiet, are still having UFO sightings. So it's one of the things. Now, so we're going to, all right, now we got to go through the conference. I want to give everybody a good rundown of what we're doing. So Friday, everybody's getting together, hanging out.
Well, Friday is the meet and greet party of the ladies in red. And that's Friday. There's a cocktail party at the Holiday Inn Express. And right after that, James Carman, who was my cameraman, by the way, in Canada when I did the Paul Hallier interview, he is the producer of the documentary called The Hidden Hand, which won the EB Award at the International UFO Congress last year. And he's going to screen that. And that is about contact, The Hidden Hand. And we'll watch that movie that night. The next morning, it'll start bright and early at 9 o'clock with our speakers, and Carol will be one of the first speakers. And, Dr. Lynn Katai, and then in the afternoon, there'll be the Stephenville panel with the men witnesses and the MUFON representative with Angela Joyner. And then on Sunday, it's a half a day, and we start with the contact scenario, and Lisa will be our big star then. And she will show, actually, Lisa, I'm glad you mentioned that you have pictures and video and so forth, because people need to see, and she will show, incidences of her life and talk about her book.
Paola, will you talk about where it is, the city, how the distance from Dallas?
Well, people are asking me, you have to fly into Dallas-Fort Worth. It's 1 hour away, and people could get together and carpool. And it's 1 hour from Dallas and Fort Worth. It's a place called Glen Rose, Texas. They can go to the website www.starworksusa.com, and all the information, including the hotels, and all the schedule and everything is on there in Starworks USA. And so, it's just an hour away. But it is, Steve Allen was telling me the UFO sighting was really between Stephenville and Glen Rose. So it was on a ranch in between those two cities. So it's a small town, but it's a wonderful town. I've been there, and looking forward to seeing everybody.
Yeah, I think we all are. We're going to have a great time, but it really is wonderful to hear what you're doing there, because I feel people are going to get a very quick, intensive education that's based on a very grounded reality, on a lot of truth, and with a positive vision, an update on what's going on from their local level to a global level up to the universal level, like Joe's been covering on a show forever. And with these speakers, it's just a fabulous group that you put together. Very unusual conference. I really hope a lot of people come.
And guys, I'm still going back to this ladies in red and alcohol thing. I'm sorry I haven't got past that part yet. I'm still on that one.
We have to have we have to have, it's an open bar. I mean, but it is, every single conference has meet and greet. So,
oh yeah. You got to have it. You really do.
Meet and greet, meet and greet, but everybody's dressed in the same color. So, it'd be fun.
You know, Werner von Braun, when I first met him in 1974, was dying of cancer. And he was giving me the assignment to keep weapons out of space and all that. But what he said to me that was so interesting, he was scribbling on a little piece of paper on a desk, these little circles, while he was talking to me for a couple of hours. And at the end, he handed the paper, and suddenly it comes to me that we've reached this point. And the word in little circles was humor. And when he handed this scrap of paper to me, he said, there's going to be a time when you have to maintain a huge sense of humor because everything is going to actually be so serious. So thanks for this fun added into it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it's going to be great. So, Joe, do you have your cowboy outfit ready?
Yep. I'll be ready to come down. It's and I look good in boots and a hat. I have to tell y'all. So I'm not even bashful about it. I like Texas anyway. I got a lot of friends in Texas. It's a good place for me to come hang out and visit. So, and on my way up, you know, it's like I said, it's pretty straightforward drive for us. If Google, I mean, if Yahoo says it'll take 9 hours, it means I'll get there in about 7. So it's a nice, easy drive, all interstate pretty much. Yeah, it looks like we're going to go. I mean, I was talking with Paola. She said the 19th, 20th, and 21st, right?
Well, right? No, it's the 18th, 19th, and 20th. 18th. I just sent Linda 2 posters to put on your website so that you can see it, you know, with all the people on there. And Lisa, you're bringing Stan, aren't you?
Absolutely.
Oh, great.
So he's going to be there.
Come meet, you know, if nothing else, come hang out in the audience with Stan.
Yeah.
Let this girl do our thing.
Yeah, and when you're with Stan, you never know what's going to happen.
we can hear Stan anytime. I'm coming here, Lisa. I just call Stan for anyone to shut. You know, well, because in her case, and this is something, you know, I ask a lot of contactee spouses. For the ones that aren't both contactees, I do ask them, you know, how do you cope with your husband or your wife being a contactee? How do you deal with it on a daily basis? Is it, I mean, first off, do you think he lost his mind? You know, is it something that you think you can handle? And I ask people, do you think you can be able to handle this long term? Because contact, you know, it's not that it gets better or anything, but sometimes it gets frequent and it gets a little chaotic and it can really put a stress on a relationship. So, you know, I was going to ask Lisa right after that. I mean, how do you deal with it?
You write a book. No.
I like that. That was a good answer, by the way.
You put it all in a book. Before I answer that, I have a question. So, how do you define a ufologist?
Well, for me, ufologist is a study of ufology, which is UFOs and lights in the skies. Abduction research is an entire find out in this field. If you would talk to me or Dow Sims, Yvonne Smith, any of the major abduction researchers in the field, we actually agree about 80% of the time on what's going on in the research and the data and stuff. Ufologists are a much different breed. They're tracking lights in the sky. They're dealing with government conspiracies and things along those lines. And they really, and they argue a lot amongst each other. I mean, a lot. And which is not really that bad of a thing. I mean, they do need to keep it separated and try to, you know, who's telling the truth, who's not. I mean, there have been deceptions in the field over the years, so they do need to do that. But abduction research and the contactee research is a much different field. First off, we're dealing with people's emotional states, how they feel, what they're up to. They have lives that we're helping people learn how to take contact and put it into their life, make it part of who and what they are, not to fight it or to deny it or to hide it, to accept it for what it is, incorporate it in your life, and go on with your life instead of, you know, because a lot of them get really messed up over this. They get alcohol or drug problems, things like that, other addiction problems. So it's good. I mean, that's really what we do. We just help people get through the initial awakening and help them understand they're not alone, and you can use this to your advantage. You can do the life. So that's why I'm always curious when I meet somebody who's not a contactee, who has a spouse that is, because I know it's a little bit on the weird side.
Okay. So I am a contactee who is married to a contactee.
Okay. See, that's what I wanted to know.
But I wasn't a contactee until after I married Stan. And the strange thing is, I in a way, this, I don't know about all spouses, but it became my responsibility to be the ufologist, the person who documented, who tried to find a reasonable explanation for everything, took the photographs, took the samples. You know, I had Nancy Talbot, MUFON investigator also, who was telling me how to do these things properly via the phone so that I could send them what they needed. So, you know, it wasn't only dealing with Stan coming back in his underwear, being outside, getting him in, calming him down, you know, and making sure he was okay emotionally, physically, but it was, you know, documenting all that. And it in the beginning, it was terrifying. It was frustrating. And in my book, I don't hold back. I tell how it was. All the anger, the, you know, the sadness, the everything that happened. And it's just, I felt it was important to write it for other people in my position to understand that this is just the way it is. You learn to get past all those emotions and past all the fear so that you can just do what you have to do. And I use humor to get past everything.
That's great.
Cool.
What do you say? Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, along the lines of what you're saying, what would you say to people who say, well, maybe we should modify how we should say it, and that there's a likelihood that we're not alone in the universe, or we should investigate it, when in fact, you know, it's true. Do you have that happen to you? Do people say things like that to you guys?
Quite often. It's not and I tell them it's not a question of if they are real. It's not a question of if it was a UFO. It's I know what I've seen. I know what I've experienced. There is no question of if anymore. This is real. This is happening, and you can't be afraid of it.
That's great. That's exactly how the treaty was written by these 5 men included. And I still, once in a while, get letters from someone. I just did from someone who produced a documentary on crop circles. It said just that maybe we should say that we might not be alone in the universe. And I'm like, oh my God, you know, one of the great things about what we're doing here is confirming. There are enough people, don't you think, that confirm the reality. And your book is going to be very important to that.
And there's some new data out there that helps.
Yeah.
Well, all the contactees that come forward always make a difference. They're either making a difference to themselves or other contactees that are out there looking for someone to listen to find out that they're not alone. So they're always making a difference. But now, you know, with the new particle traveling faster than light, it's the second time now they've produced something to go faster than the speed of light, which means Einstein's theory was wrong and you can travel faster than the speed of light. Also, they upgraded the universe, the galaxy, from 100 billion to 200 billion stars and 2 trillion plus planets. So now, and science isn't saying when you find, if there's life, they're saying how much life is there. You know, even science today has to agree that, you know, more and more scientists are actually becoming, you know, I was watching NASA the other day about the new rover they're sending to Mars. It wasn't about to them. They know they're going to find life. They have no doubt they're going to find life on Mars. They know they're going to find life on several bodies in our solar system. And like the scientist says, it's just a matter of time till we run into someone like ourselves or more advanced or less advanced. He said, but sooner or later we're going to, he said, because there's too many planets and there's going to be, they're saying now that life is going to be the norm because since they found planets around the double stars, they're saying that all stars are going to have planets whether we can see them or not. They're pretty sure that most stars will have planets now. And it just increases the Drake equation numbers significantly. It puts a lot more intelligent life out there.
Yeah, but Joe, they're still thinking it's one cell creature. And you know, whether it's SETI with Drake, and by the way, I think Drake really does know. I met Frank Drake in Italy, and I think he does know. But you know, you can't live with a one cell creature. It's not a one cell creature or an amoeba that's flying those craft. It's like, you know, you're looking for a radio telescope for some kind of, you know, message when the beings are walking around and are coming through the walls or already here, to me seems very strange. We're taking it one step at a time with NASA, but because I think somebody's managing the material and they want to prepare humanity, and I think that the real secret is really the technology. I don't even think it's the aliens. I think everybody can handle aliens. I think what they can handle is that these things are not flying around with gas and oil, and they're flying around with the technology that could possibly save this planet, and the whole economy would go down the tubes if we were to admit that we can travel into deep space, that we do have the means to replace fossil fuels, and the whole back engineering argument that very few of my colleagues want to touch. I think that's the secret behind UFOs. I don't even think it's aliens.
Very good. Yeah.
Well, a lot of stuff that people think are aliens is definitely government. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt. Go on.
No, Carol, I don't know. The thing is, over the years, 30 years is a long time, I've found out that people could probably handle diverse cultures. What they can't handle is that we are in a very primitive state, that we're still fighting each other over petroleum, gas, and oil. And my life with Colonel Corso, with his back engineering, his having been part of the research and development at the Pentagon, and having had the Roswell artifacts, and the Air Force officially still says mogul balloon with test dummies. Roswell did happen. So did my newest story, 1945 case in Socorro, New Mexico, did happen. And if that there's a military presence there, they're not going to throw the UFO in the trash. I mean, that would be stupid. Why would you pick up something advanced and throw it in the garbage? So as far as 1945, 60 years ago, somebody has the technology that I think that probably will have to be released in the near future, because we're going to run out of energy sources. And when that happens, maybe that will open the door to the UFO question.
I just talked with Tom Bearden about a month ago, an energy expert of the highest and former intelligence too. And he said, of course, there is free energy. It's being hidden. The mafia owns it, blah, blah, blah. What amazes me about what all of you are saying, all of us are saying, is that there are still people out there that say, well, there's no evidence. No evidence. There's no proof that they exist. Where's the gun? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think some people just don't. I've talked to enough people now, especially just everyday people, when we're doing like polls or interviews like that. And when you're talking to just people like at the mall or on the street and stuff, most people don't want to think that there's extraterrestrials out there. Too much Hollywood, too much scary stuff. And even when you're telling them this isn't about conquering the planet or wiping out the planet, if they wanted to do that, they'd have done that 10,000 years ago. Even when you tell them that, there's still a certain amount of fear there. So that's something that we're going to have to work on. I guess something the field can work on. Helping people to understand and general population and know just because aliens here doesn't mean it's the end of the world. And in fact, it could be the start of the golden age, like the Mayans say. If we were to have alien contact in December, full-blown contact, where they came down the planet and said, hey, guys, we're here, let us help you out with some energy and stuff like that. Well, yeah, that would be the end of life as we know it and the start of the golden age, because we would no longer be alone in the universe and we would have advanced technology. So it would actually fit the Mayans saying. That's not the only thing I've seen that really would fit it. So I'm hoping, I'm optimistic. But
yeah, but they would have to make a direct intervention. I don't think they're going to do that. Yeah, I don't think that would be. There is a prime directive, just like in Star Trek, and until we ask for help, we're not going to get it. And unfortunately, that's pretty sad, because I think we need help. It's like we all need help, and I understand what you're saying. I think that, there's a lot of good things, though, Joe. When Jeff Peckman was able to put the ballot initiative in Denver, the last year, when 32,000 people voted yes to an extraterrestrial commission out of 72, I think we made a big step for mankind. Thank God for Jeff Peckman. He did it politically, and people did press the yes button, so we got that. And there's a lot of people really working towards this issue to make it real, to make it something that will benefit the planet. But I think there's a timing to it. And I'm hoping the timing is soon, because I think we're running out of time.
And that's,
We gotta
again,
do
I mean,
something.
yeah, not to sound so one track, but I am at the moment, why we have got to ban space-based weapons so that they don't escalate, expand that weapons and war mentality, the fear mentality into that place above our heads, which is an unlimited place and surrounds all of us. So I think that's where the pivotal point is. I don't even like to fly in planes, so to have had an experience and be a contactee and then work for a treaty to ban weapons from space is so far outside of my own box here, but that is one of the pivotal moments. And the other, and it completely connects with all of these great stories and the new ones like Lisa's coming out in the books that Paula's written in your show that talk about and actually present the reality of this issue. I think, Paula, the timing is right now. I don't think we have any time to wait. We're really running out.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, because just look around you. I think that it's time, and it's kind of exciting to be alive in this period of time.
Definitely. And to wear red at the conference.
Yeah, here we go with the red again. I can see this red thing's going to give me a trouble. I can see this coming.
My hat has glitter on.
Oh, no, here we go. Okay, now, well, at least, hey, look, if you get tipsy, if your cheeks get all rosy, nobody will notice it all. That red on. Okay, I'm behaving. We'll behave now. It's well, and that's another thing too, because I figure, because like Paula just said, ET really isn't going to probably intervene on our behalf, and if we do start pointing weapons at each other, they may let us wipe each other out for two reasons. One, if there's anybody left, to clean up, and two, I imagine they have the technology to clean up the planet quite easily. So I don't think it would be a big deal for them. So if we wipe out 5 billion, they might actually be happier. So I tell people all the time, and I tell this to people all the time, people always say we're going to kill Earth. I go, no matter what happened to you, ladies and gentlemen, the Earth will survive. We may not, but it will. Something y'all need to keep in remembrance when y'all are talking about, oh, we're destroying the Earth. No, we're destroying ourselves. Once we're gone, the Earth will replenish itself and go right on its merry way and create a whole new species, just like it has 3 other times.
You're right, Joe. You got it. I mean, that's very interesting that you should say that. You're right on, Mayor. I think that's true.
Yeah, so it's preserve ourselves and learn that we're not alone. And I think the sooner we realize, and Paul, I do think a lot more people in the government these days, a lot more people in the military realize that we're not alone. I just don't think they quite have a grasp on it. I don't think UT shares as much as our conspiracy friends would like to make everybody think they do. I think they're a lot more, look, guys, we're here, we're doing this, stay out of our way. Occasionally, y'all might, come see, visit or something, but stay out of our way. And because, frankly, the technologies are just too incompatible with ours at this time. So they come give us something, I'll be happy, because, frankly, electric bills are getting ridiculous, especially when you run a radio station. So I want something. I'm ready for something to come out here. And I know for a fact that there are alternative fuels out there and alternative energies we could be using. And I just don't understand why. And then this doesn't even alien stuff. There's stuff out there we could be using now that, frankly, the governments just don't seem to want to bother with. And I don't understand why.
They can't bother with it because it has to do with money. And the bottom line of any conspiracy or anything is money. When you have huge amounts of money being made with fossil fuels, I mean, I hate to go to a sore point of what happened in the Gulf with the Gulf,
Yeah.
But aren't people getting a clue? I feel like saying, get a clue. This has happened over and over again. Even though I've heard, people do and say, that's our jobs, that's our livelihood and so forth. I can understand that. But there's got to be a time where we turn the page there because it not only with the nuclear, the nuclear problem with the plant in Japan, but with oil spills, with things that are happening that are just turning upside down the whole ecology of the planet, we got to get a clue. I mean, I think that we should be waking up to something.
And, we are getting a lot of clues. Just from living in the space station, we've learned a lot about what it's like to live in zero gravity and how that helps people with bone diseases and arthritis because they don't have any air pressure on their body. You can go up for treatments. And there are people planning for tourism to go live and work and have vacations in space right now. So we've learned a lot about one thing that's very interesting to me, really healing. We have got to heal our bodies. We're being toxically poisoned constantly. And now with genetically modified foods, you know, we're going to actually change how we look. And if we eat an animal that's been genetically processed like this way, we're going to turn into that too. So what we're learning is we've got to get back to nature, to the indigenous, natural, universal laws and principles. And I think that that's happening because of the studies of how people are living and working in outer space. Most people don't know about that yet, but there's so much to learn, not just observing the earth and the environment, but I think there's a frequency that the cosmos cultures obviously are functioning on, or they wouldn't be able to get here from these huge distances. We have no idea how to do that yet. But there's a frequency that I have a feeling when we learn it, they'll be able to kind of press a telepathic button and clean up the radiation, clean up the pollution. This is a planet that's 2/3 water, and most of it is now so polluted we can hardly live on the planet just because of the water and the pollutions in the land itself that's happening. So I think we're on the verge of a huge healing process that's going to take place in our physical bodies and our emotional, psychological as well, and of an environmental transformation that has got to take place rather quickly, because the earth changes that those of us paying attention to it, learning about, are putting us into a critical situation. But we have the mass that Bucky Fuller used to talk about, 1% of the public waking up, and he said that that's all we need to shift consciousness. It's literally about getting into a higher frequency, and a show like Joe's that's functioning in a higher frequency is helping to spread that and fill the airways with a different energy. So I actually have a little hope in the middle of a lot of the depression that I fall into occasionally.
I'm hoping that we are moving in the right direction. I mean, it does look better and better. And I got to say, when I first got involved with this field 30 years ago, there was a lot more crazy conspiracy stuff and a lot less information. There's a lot more information now and a lot more understanding. Still, I mean, we got years to go, but it's still, I mean, if you really want to get involved in this field, there's lots of ways to help out. And there's lots of places to work, and there's lots of research to be done. I mean, there's just lots of it to be done. And there's lots of people that still need to be interviewed, and new people coming in the field every day. That's another problem I think we got, too. It's hard. And I know this from personal experience. It's hard to get into this field. It really is. It's tough.
What do you mean? What are you talking about?
Well, because I have a lot of contactees that'll call me or write to me. And even people who have had other types of experience will call or write to me and say, I've been trying to get in contact with this one or that one or this one or that one, and nobody returns my calls, nobody talks to me. And what they don't understand is it's usually not anything personal. It's just usually because most of the people in the field are busy. I tell people up front, if you want me to contact you, you're going to send me an email, expect 3 to 4 weeks before you get a response from me, because that's how much email I keep ahead of myself basis. And I tell the same thing with people who contact me on many other venues I'm on, like the 6 Facebook accounts we have and MySpace accounts. I mean, we're easily accessible, but it does take time because we are talking to a lot of people these days. And it just seems that a lot of people say that they have just a hard time getting involved. And, MUFON only does certain stuff. We only do certain stuff. And it just seems like people are falling between the cracks. And I would, especially younger people. And I just want to see the field itself figure out a way to correct that, get more of them involved. Because I'm getting to be an old guy.
Well, I can see what you're saying, but I also see the solution is education. I mean, basically, I am praying that some university takes this on in the social studies department. If some university would take on this kind of dialogue in the social studies department, you get all the students there. You get people from the outside wanting to talk about it. The minute that we open this up to a serious educational field where they can have dialogue, where they can have conferences, where they can sit and talk to each other, where they could read books, where they could write research papers, where they could do it like we do with everything else we do for education, the minute that happens, you'll get the right people there. You'll get the right people to come in, the hypnotherapists, the people are interested in. A lot of people that are hypnotherapists weren't dealing with alien abductions. Look at John Mack. I mean, he was a psychiatrist, and all at once he went there. So, I mean, we have Naropa Institute here in Boulder, and we did a lot of lecturing here We had a lot of guests. We had Lynn Katai. We had actually Stan talk, and they have a degree in transpersonal psychology. If we could get into these kinds of fields, then it won't just be what you call the ufologists or the contactee people. It'll be, the general public or the university itself that'll handle some of this, and it would be great to make it legitimate.
And then these young people can take over and replace these leaders that really are keeping all this from us, which is just ridiculous and dangerous.
Well, Stanton probably gets to speak at the most colleges out of anybody I know, but college just needs to take it on and put it in the curriculum. I know of a couple of ideas because I've heard them talk about it, but I just haven't seen anybody really do it. Even though you can go to college and get a paranormal degree, it amazes me how hard this is sometimes. It really is, because now they do have, you can go to college, they got ghost school, they got a couple of them that are doing paranormal stuff, but yet they seem to leave ufology or UFO research out in the cold. I just don't get it. There's way more evidence, there's way more credible witnesses, and I'm not even talking about the context. I mean, just simply the amount of astronauts that have come forward should be enough for anybody to go, what the hell is going on?
And military experts and the Disclosure Project experts and all these books that Paola has written, like she says, hasn't even changed a word, edited those interviews. But, it's the Military Industrial Lab University, NASA and other international space agencies, intelligence community, governments complex. You can't really identify a cabal anymore. It's also interrelated. And like we were saying, it's all based on money and the foundation. So we have to start showing people that there's a different form of wealth, and part of it is our survival.
No, we got to definitely get on the ball here. Oh, I know we're getting kind of short on time, so y'all be sure, dates, times, websites, everybody.
Okay, I'll talk about the conference and my website, and then everybody else should mention theirs too. The conference website is www.starworksusa.com, and there's a registration blank. Early bird registration is $75 because after April 1st it'll be $90, so people should register right away, and they'll get their materials. And my personal website that has all my stories in it, my latest work, my stories, and the fact that I do teach online classes in exopolitics for Dr. Sala's Exopolitics Institute. I'm teaching a class called Quantum Cosmology right now. You could go on my website. It's www.paolaharris.com.
And would you talk about the town again, how people get to the conference?
Glen Rose, they'd have to fly into Dallas-Fort Worth. And then Dallas-Fort Worth, it's 1 hour to Glen Rose.
And then where is it in Glen Rose?
It's at the Somerville Expo at Glen Rose. It's on the website. All of the details in detail is all on the website.
Lisa?
And register early by April 1st if you want to get the early registration rate. Otherwise, it's going to be more expensive after April 1st.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, I was just telling people.
Sorry. You know how it is with us women.
No. Y'all go ahead. No, I was just going to tell everybody to get out there and check the websites, but go ahead.
Yeah, but also Lisa has a book that's on Amazon on the other side of the bed. I don't know if she has a website yet.
Not yet, but you can go to www.stanromanek.com. You can find me on Facebook, and I will have a website. And my book is also in Barnes & Nobles now, and it is in Kindle on Amazon now. Yay!
Very cool.
Yeah, we have you. Yeah, we have, Lisa, we have your book linked straight to the site. All you do is click on a book, it takes it right to where the book's for sale. And I think your actual picture on the site takes it right to Stan's site as well. So those should be linked. And I'll be at the Tuesday. Same for Carol and Paul. You can just click on Paula's face. It'll take it right to the site. You can click on Carol's. It'll take it right there. Usually the websites are on the bottom of the bios anyway, so you can find them there as well. Really, it'll be up there for the UFO conference, for the symposium. I'm sorry, I don't get in trouble here. Just click on the banners. There's 2 banners there. There's actually 2 separate banners. Each one takes you to a different page, but just click on the banners. It'll take you right to the site. You can go check out all the guests and all the speakers, what times, how much it's going to cost, the whole 9 yards. It's right there. Really easy, one-click shopping. Those will stay up on the UFO Undercover site till Tuesday afternoon because we change our things every Tuesday afternoon. And then Paula's already sent me the posters, so they'll be up on the Paranormal and ICO site, so y'all can just put the link straight from there as well. And as soon as I get everything straight with Linda, we'll post where we're going to be and how we're going and all that stuff for y'all up there as well. So, guys, go attend, check it out. And when I say guys, I don't mean men, I mean everybody. Go check it out. Well, I've been talking about the red in the alcohol, so no telling who'll show up now. we might get
it's a party. It's a Texas party. So
that's what I was wondering about. We might get one of the men's clubs show up.
I'm really glad you have it. I'm really glad you're gonna post this, all of it on your site, and we're gonna have it all posted on peaceandspace.com too, just to let you know.
Yeah, because we'll come down that way. We can do some interviews down there and do some live broadcasts while we're there as well. Like I said, I always love to do live stuff. It's just so great, and it's so much easier now with the new equipment and Skype and all this other wonderful stuff. So, really, as long as you have an internet connection, you can do a broadcast anywhere now. So it's kind of nice. And even my phone is even set up to act as a modem or as a network if I needed to. So that's kind of nice too. So I'm looking forward to seeing down there along with everybody else because, Yvonne's one of my favorite researchers in the field, and I like to harass her any chance I get.
Well, Yvonne will be there because Yvonne has prior commitment, so she will be. She will be at McMinnville. So we'll see.
Oh, okay.
She's going to McMinnville.
Oh, okay. Well, I have to get on to her. So she needs to come to y'all. If the other commitment can wait, I'm going to call her.
No, we'll get Yvonne the next time around. I promise Yvonne the next time around we're going to get her.
I love to harass people in the field, so I get paid to do. Well, just the other day somebody told me I was in charge of all the military abductions in the United States. I can't get past laughing over that. Do y'all realize
you know about the book that Paula's edited just now with Clifford Stone, right?
Yeah, Clifford Stone's book just came out. It's called Eyes Only, the Clifford Stone Story. And we will be at the International UFO Congress in Phoenix, Arizona, February 21st and 22nd and so forth. We will be there. Clifford Stone will be there in person to sign the book. But he talks about his crash retrieval experiences with live and dead aliens, and he basically interaction with these beings, which he says was very beneficial.
Well, I can see that. I can actually see that as being beneficial. Actually, we're trying to go to Phoenix or to Arizona this year, so I don't know if we're going to or not, but we're going to try. For us, it's a rough time because it's Mardi Gras here.
Okay. Well, you're partying already. You're partying.
That's what I'm saying. It's hard to compete with Mardi Gras. I hate to say it. It's just, they're like, you're going to come down to conferences. I said, yeah, I would love to. I said, but it's Mardi Gras. Yeah, I don't know.
I have an idea, Joe. You should have a conference there during Mardi Gras time so we can all...
While we're on this subject, my sister works for the Marriott. She's a bigwig with him, and she was just in town for Thanksgiving. So we're going to probably set one up in Atlanta this year. It's looking really, really good. It's going to probably be summer, maybe right early fall, but it's looking good. Actually, your name is actually on the list. Actually, several of y'all's names are on the list, along with, I think there's 25 speakers in the UFO abduction and so on fields related that we're talking about. And we've been requested by, since I own the Paranormal Radio Network, to have one paranormal day. So we might bring in an additional 8 or 9 speakers up there on paranormal as well. But it's looking really good. It's the first time that we're going to be able to do it. And there's going to be quite a few contactees there and people in the field. But there's several names I just want there for other reasons that I'm not going to get into on the air, but I just want them there. And it should be a great conference. It really should. If we can get everybody we want to and get what we want, it should be just phenomenal. And, I've been getting a lot of pressure over the years to finally do one, just like writing a book, which ain't never going to happen. Lisa, by the way, congrats, because I've been trying to write a book every time I sit down and I type paragraph. My problem is my brain works way too fast in my fingers. And even when I talk it and put it on tape and come back, it just, I don't know. It's going to make me nuts is what it's going to do. Anyway, enough about all of that. Ladies, y'all were fantastic night having y'all on. It was just great. I'll be looking forward to seeing all three of you down there along with everybody else. It should be a really fun conference. I'm with Paul on the fact that these conferences should be a little bit more strict on their formats and a little less glamorous. I guess that's a bad word, but a little less sparkly. I don't know.
A little less chintzy, and I don't know what to say. Carnival-like.
Carnival. That's actually good. No, that's a good description because several it's why I don't go to. I quit going to several conferences because frankly, it's a waste of my time. Because if you're a groupie, it's fine. Or if you're going to see your friends, it's fine too. It's one of the other reasons I like to go to conferences to catch up with friends. But as far as the general population coming in, no, they're going to come in, they're going to think it's goofy, and they're going to leave, and they're not going to ever come back. They're going to be like, well, yeah, see, I told you they were nuts in the first place, and that's what they're going to be, and they're going to move on. And I think that kind of stuff really hurts us. But, you know, that's just my opinion. I don't want to get anybody in trouble with that.
No, to each his own. I mean, there's different places where they do that. Yeah, they have parades and so forth. And I think that's okay. But I think that's fine for that kind of situation. But we're educators, or I'm a teacher. I mean, I'm an educator, and I'd rather do the educational thing than the the carnival thing. Plus, I wonder what the aliens think of us. I'm thinking if they're looking down and watching this, it's like, what do they think?
Well, they got to love the Roswell parades. I got to say that. I laughed last time at Roswell.
I think they probably enjoy Roswell parade.
I did have a good time last time I was there. I think it was for the 60th anniversary I was there last. I had a great time.
Well,
I really did.
I always have a great time there.
I just want them to land, and I hear people are making some landing pads already around the world, so I think we need to ban space weapons, get everybody educated, and then go celebrate on the front lines when they land.
Who is it working on the spaceport? Paul Davis and, I forgot his name. These guys got the money to pull this off.
You're talking about Branson and Rutan, who are doing the spaceport in New Mexico?
Maybe I'm getting confused. Yeah,
Branson is the owner of Virgin everything, Virgin Records, Virgin
Airlines, the whole nine.
Virgin Airlines, and they already have that underway. And the tickets to go to space are $250,000, and I think they sold about 150 of them. So, I mean, the minute that the civilians go into outer space, they can't keep a secret. They'll see UFOs.
Oh, for sure.
Well, I mean, because every time you see somebody going up there, you're watching footage. I cannot tell you how much footage I've seen before NASA went through the 7-second delay that there's something flying around up there. And there's lots of it. And there's still a lot of it available. I mean, I know they've been trying to clean it up off the internet. And I think that's one of the reasons they want HIPAA and PAPA and whatever to make it a little easier to clean some of this stuff up. But there's a lot of it out there to be had. I mean, we've all made video libraries that we keep for ourselves, not just so somebody's got copies, but STS-41, STS-44, STS-92, 93. Can't tell you how many Apollo and Mercury and Gemini missions to where there was stuff either videotaped or photographed. It just seems to be that what I don't understand, all this evidence, I mean, there's a lot of it now. Between the videotape, the eyewitnesses, the airplane pilots, the astronauts, the politicians, I still don't understand why mainstream media just won't grab it. That's like why when they won't talk about a candidate, they just don't want any part of it. Every now and then you'll see CNN or Fox do something, but it's always point counterpoint. It's never let's let them talk about what's going on and what they found. It's always, you'll hear the researchers or the ufologists or the abductees talk, and then you'll have some debunkers or something come in afterwards. And, people always remember the last thing they heard, so I don't know, maybe. But I do have faith. I really do have faith. And y'all doing this down here adds a little bit more faith. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get out of here. I want to thank all three of y'all again, Lisa, Carol, Paola.
Thank you all, too.
Oh, no, I had a great time. Y'all are always welcome to the show anytime you want. Lisa, when you're ready and you want to come talk, just you and I, let me know, and I'll get Linda to put you on. And when you're ready to get out there and talk, because I know some people like to come out and talk about stuff that happened to them. Some people are like, no. Because we got a lot of contactees who give us information all the time, but do not want to go public. They're like, no. Sorry, Joe, I love you, but we ain't going public, buddy. But anyway, we're going to get out of here. Thanks again, ladies. Y'all were fantastic. Enjoy your lives. Have some fun. Attend the symposium. Okay? If you're going out to Phoenix this year for the Congress, let me know. Send me a letter. Because if I don't go, I'm looking for some people to do a little work there while they're there. Also, Texas, 18th, 19th, and 20th. Guys, come on down. Check out the Women's Symposium. It should be a great thing to have. May, yeah. And come down and check it out. We'll be talking about it more over the next few weeks, or actually the next 3 months, I believe. So we'll keep it fresh in y'all's mind, but also we post on the site so it's easy for everybody to find. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get out of here for this evening. So thank everyone for listening. Have a smile. Enjoy your lives. See y'all next Wednesday.
Hello, and welcome to the Writers and Illustrators of the Future podcast. This is John Goodwin, your host. This podcast is dedicated to the aspiring writer and artist and will provide inspiration and tips from top professionals in the field. If you've been listening to this podcast or are new to it, I thank you very much. I would also appreciate if you took a moment and followed it on whatever platform you use to listen to your podcasts. S.M. Sterling is a writer by trade, born in France, but Canadian by origin and American by naturalization, living in New Mexico at present. His hobbies are mostly related to the craft. He loves history, anthropology, and archaeology, and is interested in the sciences. Martial arts are his main physical hobby. I was introduced to him by Bill Fawcett, an earlier guest on this podcast. Steve has at least 10 New York Times bestselling novels and many awards, including the Dragon Con Dragon Award. So my first question to him was, what do you recommend I read as an intro to your work? Black Chamber was his response. It was also the title he won the Dragon Award for. Intense, gripping, wonderful alternate history, but more on this later. Steve is also helping me out by providing a few introductions to upcoming re-releases of earlier L. Ron Hubbard titles, including Typewriter in the Sky, which we will also be discussing in this interview. Welcome, Steve.
Glad to be here.
So I very much appreciate your taking some time to be with me on this podcast. I guess my first thing is, when I look at your bibliography, you write in multiple genres. Did you always diversify, or did you start with one genre and then expand?
Well, back when I started writing, there weren't so many subgenres that were acknowledged, but that was coming. I sold my first novel, Snow Brother, in 1983, and the editor called me up from New York, which had me doing a little happy dance and striving to be calm, and said they wanted to take it, but they wanted to play up the fantasy element. And I said, but I thought it was post-apocalyptic science fiction. And she said, well, fantasy is more suitable to what the openings we have. And I said, it's fantasy. And
I'm
I
easy.
I added an evil wizard in 20,000 words, and away we went. That's not an uncommon thing to happen. Diana Gabaldon, who writes the enormously successful Outlander series, submitted the first one and was talking to the editor, and the editor mentioned that they were going to market it as romance. And she said, but it's science fiction, time travel. And the editor said, well, if it's science fiction, it sells 60,000 copies, and if it's romance, it sells 280,000. And she said, it's romance. I had that for her. So genres are a marketing category more than anything else. I mean, they do have some sort of objective existence, but basically they're to help the readers go to the thing they want.
Right.
And now that's part of the editorial and publishing function.
So basically, because you've got so many different series, I look at, you got the Conquistador and the Shadows of Falling Night and the Black Chamber, and just several different series. Is like, are these basically that same basic modus operandi, that it's just what the audience wants or what they have available to sell?